Part 5. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 41. The little girl had an evil look on her face, bulging her mouth, and punched and kicked Guandegu. At this moment, Guandegu was bent over like a slave, and he didn't have the arrogance that he had when he first walked into the office and wanted to chop off people's fingers. The teachers and parents in the office were stunned when they saw this scene. No one expected that the little girl who was splashed with water had such a complicated family background. Li Yang and other parents' hearts were already in their throats. They were not afraid of the powerful, but they were afraid of the barefoot ruffian who was not afraid of wearing shoes. Han Qian saw a bit of cruelty in the eyes of his slave Guandegu when he looked at him. The little girl apologized to Han Qian, although she didn't know what happened. Later, Han Qian discovered that the little girl seemed to be very familiar with the landlady. In the end, the little girl didn't want to pursue the matter anymore, and just told Li Yang and other parents to let them after the children returned to school. They apologized to Li Jiai, otherwise he would beat them every time he saw them. This matter is no longer within the school's control, and everyone in the office cannot afford to offend him. But nursery rhyme scolded the little girl, saying that she could not bring social atmosphere into the school. However, the little girl did not even look at her and asked if she could go to the landlady's house for dinner in the evening. That seemed to be the end of it. But the matter between Han Qian and Guandegu was not settled. After leaving the teaching building, Han Qian and Guandegu walked in front. Guandegu had his hands in his pockets and a cigarette in his mouth, and said with a sneer, "Don't think that the matter is over after the eldest lady apologizes to you. We are settling accounts after we leave the school. Don't even think about apologizing. I, Guan Yunbiao, don't accept this." Ah! Han Qian sneered, left the school gate and asked the landlady to go back first. He awkwardly asked the eldest sister for 6 yuan, the eldest sister insisted on giving 100 yuan, and the two siblings kept pushing between 6 yuan and 100 yuan. Shouting, Guandegu, who was waiting to settle accounts with Han Qian, couldn't stand it and gritted his teeth and said angrily, "I'll give you 6 yuan, and Guan won't embarrass you. Let's challenge you to a one-on-one challenge. Winning or losing won't matter." Han Qian turned his head and looked at Guandegu in a red suit, and said calmly, "Give me $6 first." In the alley next to the school, 4 strong men in black stood outside the alley. They very kindly asked the 2 guys inside to challenge each other. It was unreasonable for people like Guan Yunbiao to show kindness and reason. Han Qian used his wrists and neck. The bones of children who grew up in rural areas are always stronger than those of flowers in greenhouses, and fights are commonplace. 10 minutes later, Han Qian dragged his exhausted body and carried his sportswear jacket out of the alley. Now he was even more embarrassed than Li Jiai just now. He walked slowly into the car. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a big breath to relieve the pain. Drove away 2 minutes later. In the alley, Guan Yunbiao was lying on the ground. He was no better than Han Qian. He lay on the ground with a big character and looked at the sky. He couldn't figure out why he hadn't hit this thin guy. The only explanation was that he didn't touch the guy. Don't dare to make a fatal move. I have to admit that Han Qian's fists are really hard. While driving, Nuan called to ask how things were going and if she needed to come. Han Qian just replied that it was okay and hung up the phone when he got home. When Han Qian opened the door and handed a piece of cold skin to Nuan, warm tears fell instantly. Who? Tell me who did it? The corners of Han Qian's mouth and eyes were cracked, and his face was either bruised or red and swollen. He put the cool leather on the shoe cabinet and forced a smile, and chuckled softly. "It's okay, I had a fight with someone. I didn't ask you what happened. Now I'm asking you who hit you. It's okay, it's really okay." When Han Qian took off his dirty coat and exposed his back, Nuan Qian's eyes became very smart. He no longer asked questions. Han Qian turned around and ran to the coffee table to pick up his mobile phone. Han Qian, who was looking at his face in the mirror in the bathroom, heard Nuan's voice. The roar of the living room. I don't care. I don't care about anything. I can bully Han Qian, but others can't. If you don't feel sorry for me, I still feel sorry for him. How can you do such a heavy hand to a child? You are too embarrassed to call me to fight. Nuan hung up the phone. When Han Qian heard Nuan's call to his second uncle, he panicked. Second uncle, I'm warm. My husband was beaten half an hour ago at Haihua Middle School. Didn't I call you and ask you to take care of him? How could he still be beaten? Okay, I'll go find you now. This matter must be filed, or I will call my uncle. While Nuan was talking, he had already put on his clothes and was about to go out. Han Qian quickly walked out of the bathroom, grabbed Nuan's arm and grabbed the phone to explain. After some words, Nuan's second uncle was relieved. Han Qian pressed Nuan with an angry face on the sofa. Go up, then find Yunnan Biao and hand it to Nuan, saying weakly. It was just a fight with someone. I walked out standing. He was still lying down in the alley. He couldn't reach his back. Please help me spray some. It's a coincidence that the kid who fought with the landlady's son was you. The manager of Chang's Yang department is called Li Yang. Nuan looked at the injuries on the back of the man sitting on the pony in front of her. She still felt distressed and gritted her teeth angrily. Li Yang? Did he beat you? I will fire him right now. Where are you? My second uncle was already scared when he called me. Are you fighting over some little vixen again because of jealousy? Han Qian, tell me quickly, is it Yan Qingqing? You seem like an old witch who catches rapists. I don't know this person either, but I only know that his surname is Guan. He is wearing a red suit and has a ponytail. He seems to be a local gangster. He knows that Li Yang is Chang Xiang's man and he doesn't speak very cleanly. We took action. Close. Nuan put down the medicine in his hand, got up and went to the bathroom, took out Han Qian's clothes and threw them on the sofa, frowning. Guan Yun Biao? The one from District 8? Why are you fighting with this mad dog? Is his mistress a girl? Han Qian, who was putting on his pajamas, was slightly startled and then said. Do you know him? The eldest lady he talks about is also one of the victims. She seems to be very familiar with the landlady's children. She seems to be in love. Is there something wrong with his family? In what age is this still eldest lady? When Nuan wrinkled and took the pajamas, unbuttoned them and handed them to Han Qian, saying softly. Guan Degu worked for Tu Xiao. I heard from Lao Wen and my second uncle that Tu Xiao was a gangster when he was young. After dark, Tu Xiao had the final say in the 8 districts. Later, he said that he was a businessman. They opened several KTVs, bars, and bathhouses. Not to mention they were too wealthy. They had 18 million in their hands, but their reputation was so bad that no one wanted to mess with them. It's not too much for a daughter to call her eldest. Nowadays, when people go to the second uncle's house to pay New Year's greetings, why don't they call Li Er the second son? I'll ask my second uncle to call Tu Xiao later, so that this big dog won't trouble you. Han Qian put on his pajamas and shook his head at Nuan. There's no need to bother my second uncle. But my second uncle doesn't know that we're divorced yet. When we called him, he was a little dissatisfied with us not visiting him. Then find time to go there, or Li Er is also clamoring to see you. I don't know how you two got together. Is Jiai's class teacher pretty? It's okay. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. Nuan cursed, but he picked up the medicine box and sat on the sofa. Then he patted the pair of jade legs that made the man crazy and said softly, "Come here, lie down, and apply the medicine." Han Qian smiled sheepishly. "Isn't this bad?" Nuan nodded after listening. "Indeed, go get Liangpi and use your head as a table. If the monthly pass is over 300, more updates will be added." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 42. He fell asleep as he lay down. When he opened his eyes, it was already 3 o'clock. He touched his mobile phone and saw that all the missed calls were from the landlady. Han Qian dialed back. It was the landlady who wanted to cook at home. Ask Han Qian and Wen Nuan to come together. Han Qian didn't refuse. He got up and put on some clothes, then went downstairs to find warmth. Not at home. After making a phone call, Wen Nuan hesitated and didn't say where he was. He just told Han Qian that he would be back in half an hour. In the city bureau, Wen Nuan took one of the 2 cigarettes stolen from Li Jinhe and placed it on the table, saying coquettishly, "Second uncle, just give Tu Xiao a call. If Han Qian and Guan Degu get involved, that dog's temper will definitely cause trouble for Han Qian." Li Jinhe was not shy about gifts from his niece. He opened the package, took out a cigarette and lit it, laughing and cursing. "If your mother knew that you stole the cigarettes that her army brought back to Laowen, why wouldn't she fight with you? If you were fine, little white-eyed wolf, you would never come over to see me, my second uncle. And when did you tell Han is Qian so interested? We used to advise you to be nice to Han Qian, but what happened now? Have you changed your gender?" Wen Nuan chuckled, scratched his head and said with a smile, "I can't help but you all praise him. The waiter always calls me and asks me when I will take Han Qian back. I don't know how the 2 of them ended up playing together." Li Jinhe laughed after hearing this. "I really have to thank Han Qian for this. It's not like you, as a sister, haven't seen the temper that Xiao Er had when he was a child. He acted recklessly because of me, a little errand boy, and then Han Qian somehow managed to keep him in check. Not to mention being domineering, the scores in these exams were quite high. I thought this little brat was cheating. Besides, Han Qian has a very bright mind. Didn't he write some of my annual reports? Even if you don't tell me, I still have to call Tu Xiao. Do you really think I can't deal with him?" "Hey, thank you, uncle. Don't talk outside the family, Xiao Nuan, listen to my uncle, although Han Qian's background is not as good as yours, but think about it, aren't your uncle, me and your mother all children from poor families? Don't be too family background is important. Han Qian has a better mind than many people. Speaking of benefits, he can help you a lot by your side, and at the end he can keep your status in Changzi. Speaking of family, he is very important to you. Okay, we all see it, right? Live a good life, move around more and see your relatives. Your mother and your uncle don't talk, but what does this have to do with you, the younger generation? No, besides, you said that he was a big loser, the dog got beaten? Yes, he is a man. He wants to have a child soon, but..." Nuan got up and ran away. What she was most afraid of was relatives asking about her children. At 6 o'clock, Han Qian took Wen Nuan to the landlord's house downstairs. He wanted to go early to help make dinner. He was busy. Li Jiai opened the door. When the young man saw Han Qian, he enthusiastically called uncle and Nuan Wen called aunt. Han Qian was slightly embarrassed, but Wen Nuan accepted it happily. After changing his shoes, he walked into the living room and sat on the sofa, as if the hostess had come home. The house that the landlady lives in is not small, almost more than 150 square meters, with 3 bedrooms, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, 1 dining room and 1 study room. It can be imagined that Jiai's father did make a lot of money in the past. When Han Qian walked into the living room, he discovered the little girl who was at school during the day was also nestled on the sofa. It seemed that this was not her first time here. The living room has a somewhat sunken style, with sofas on all sides. The little girl Tukon is sitting opposite Wen Nuan, with a small blanket covering her legs. The little girl is not pretty, but she already has the temperament of a young age. Standing far away, Han Qian and Li Jiai felt an unsafe atmosphere at the same time. Some kind of unexplained dispute seemed to have begun between the woman and the girl. Han Qian said he was going to help in the kitchen, and Li Jiai followed closely behind. Nuan knew that this little girl was Tu Xiao's daughter, and Tukon had also seen Nuan's photos. Nuan was born into officials and businessmen, while Tukon was a bit of a charlatan. A woman and a girl, we are actually two girls. They dislike each other, especially Wen Nuan, who also knew that Guan Yunbiao had beaten Han Qian. Without speaking to each other, Wen Nuan brushed his cell phone, and Tukon fiddled with a magazine. About 10 minutes later, Tukon's phone rang, the latest model of Apple's mobile phone. "Are you downstairs?" I understand, waiting downstairs." After hanging up the phone, Tukon stood up and walked to the kitchen. She was very resistant to warmth, but she was pretty good to Han Qian. She sweetly called her uncle and said that she had ordered some fruits and gifts. "Could you help her go downstairs to get them?" After hearing this, Li Jiai said that he was going because his uncle was a guest, but Tukon told Li Jiai to tell her some questions. Han Qian understood that there must be something wrong with this little girl asking him to go downstairs. He smiled and nodded. When he walked out of the kitchen, he asked Nuan if he wanted to drink. He brought it. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Tukon had already brought it. Came over with a teapot. Sister Wen drinks tea to warm her belly. Sister Wen is so beautiful. She is much prettier than in the photo. Her skin is so good. I know. There is nothing you can do about Wen, who is so stinky and doesn't know how to be humble. Han Qian covered his head and went downstairs. Outside the unit door, Han Qian saw the coquettish Guan Degu in a bright red suit and floral shirt. This guy was carrying. There were a lot of things wandering around. When he turned around, he saw Han Qian running all the way carrying the things, standing in front of him and grinning. "Uncle. Off, I don't have a nephew as old as you." Han Qian was frightened and took a step back. Guan Degu chuckled, put the things in his hands on the ground, and said with a smile, "This is what the eldest lady asked Guan to call you. We are a dog and we must not listen to our master. If Guan is not convinced, he will be a loud-mouthed person. If he is not convinced by the rich and powerful, he will be convinced by the hard-fisted one. We will lose in a one-on-one fight. Just kill or chop him as you please." Han Qian frowned. Guan Yunbiao's reversal was a bit fast, which made people feel a little unsure. He frowned and picked up the things in his hands, shaking his head lightly. "It's not necessary. You scolded someone and I beat you. It's all because of the gentleman. If you say it's over, we'll let it go." "That's very good. But brother, don't blame me for asking you, do you know Lin Zongheng?" Han Qian's heart skipped a beat. He already knew what Guan Degu did. Now that he mentioned Lin Zongheng, Han Qian felt slightly uneasy. He suppressed his curiosity and nodded lightly. "No." Guan Yunbiao took out the cigarette and wanted to light it, but after thinking about it, he put it back. When he raised his head again, his eyes were cold and he said in a deep voice, "His people contacted me and offered 400,000 yuan to buy Han Qian's legs. This Han Qian is your brother, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 43. Downstairs, Han Qian was not in a hurry to go back. He put down the things in his hands and frowned. The Lin Zongheng you are talking about is the one from Changxiang Group. Guan Yunbiao shrugged and curled his lips. There are still a few eldest young masters in the Lin family. His father married Wen Shi and his sister Lin Ment, who are close friends, in order to enjoy the equity. None of the family has anything interesting. Guan Degu smoked a cigarette and scolded the Lin family and his son. Han Qian was relieved at the sight. Guan Degu was so disgusted with the Lin family that they should not be able to accept this order. Han Qian sighed. This grandson really doesn't want to let me go. Who else can he look for if you don't accept this order? Don't answer. You didn't refuse. We picked up. Guan Yunbiao looked at Han Qian in astonishment, but at this time Han Qian was already looking for bricks to use with his eyes. Guan Yunbiao, who had been in the society for many years, could see Han Qian's thoughts at a glance, stood up and smiled. Brother, you have accepted the order. Whether you do it or not is up to us. If what happened today had not happened, maybe someone would have attacked you one day. It won't happen now. If you don't do it, we won't do it. You don't know me, right? Besides, my eldest lady seems to be very satisfied with your little uncle. Your old man doesn't care about Tukun's puppy love. Control. Why do you care? My master is more discerning than us bastards. No one in the Tu family is literate. I heard that Li Jiai is a good student. The reason why he didn't go to school early this time was to see if Li Jiai was good at studying. If you are a man, you don't have to ask him to solve the problem. As long as you dare to come to school, the rest is our two families' business. My master and the eldest lady have said that as long as they don't go to bed, they can do whatever they want. If Li Jiai is determined to just miss it. This. Han Qian didn't know how to rely on Tukun's father, so he said yes. There are still some problems in education. I can't say that he is too doting on his daughter. When Han Qian has something on his mind, he always wants to smoke one. When Nuan doesn't say anything about it, but it can be seen that she doesn't like the taste very much, so she endures it. The addict frowned and said again. 400,000 two legs? I'm quite valuable. What will you do if you want to take action? Guan Yunbiao took out a cigarette and handed it to Han Qian. Han Qian shook his head gently. Guan Degu once again put away the cigarette case and chuckled. Look for a car to hit me, or just do it at night in a place where there is no surveillance. This 400,000 yuan cannot buy lifelong disability. This money is not enough. How much does Lin Zongheng give you? 100,000 deposit. If you break your leg, I won't sue you, but you will give me 300,000 yuan. Han Qian's suggestion shocked Guan Degu, and then he said with a grimace. Brother, your photo is on our master's table now. Even if you break my bitch, I won't dare to do anything to you. If you are short of money, I will give you 50,000 yuan. If you have more money, it will be 1 cent. I can't even take it out. Han Qian shrugged, curled his lips and smiled. Looking at your potential, it's just a joke. When we have time, we two go to the boxing gym to practice and stretch our muscles. Isn't it okay if you don't do anything to Lin Zongheng? Guan Yunbiao looked disdainful. What does it have to do with it? He still dares to come to me and ask for money. What can he do if he is just blackmailing him? If he has the ability to report the case, when things get serious, we will just go in and squat for a few years with a younger brother. His reputation is Lin Zongheng. I can't afford to throw it away. Brother, I have to leave first. After a while, the eldest lady will dislike my nagging. No need to leave your phone number. I'll find you. The big dog in a red suit and ponytail ran away. This chapter has few words, and there are still 2 updates. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 44. Guandagu's gift was a lie. Come here and tell the truth. Han Qian frowned and went upstairs. He couldn't figure out what benefits he could get from Guandagu by telling him about this matter. Lin Zongheng's wealth was in the city and even the entire province. They were all ranked high. Why would Tu Xiao offend Lin Zongheng for a small role like his? Han Qian couldn't figure it out. When he walked out of the elevator, he saw little Tukan standing outside the door wearing a large school uniform with his back against the wall. When the little girl saw Han Qian, she quickly stepped forward and took the things in his hand, raised her head and laughed. "Uncle, don't think too much. I don't know the relationship between you and Li Jiayi. Guandagu coming to tell you these things today is Jiayi's gratitude for the school. I don't want Jiayi's family to owe anything to others." Snapped. Han Qian waved his hand and slapped Xiao Tukan on his smooth forehead, then laughed and cursed. "What kind of makeup does the little girl put on in the movie? I help Jiayi because his mother is my landlord and gives me help and care. At such a young age, you should study more." Xiao Tukan looked at Han Qian in disbelief with his eyes widened, and exclaimed in a low voice. "You dare to hit me? Han Qian, do you dare to hit me?" As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian grabbed the back of Tukan's neck and pushed towards the door. The door was ajar. After entering, Han Qian raised his foot and lightly kicked the little girl's ass and said with a smile. "You call me brother-in-law, and I will treat you as my niece. What? I can't hit you anymore. Miss Tu has never been touched by anyone since she was a child. After her mother passed away, she was doted on by her father twice or even 3 times. Today, she was slapped and kicked." The little girl was out of breath, her chest kept rising and falling. Suddenly, Tu Kunba burst into tears and trotted all the way to the living room, put down his things, hugged his warm arms and started to complain. "Sister Wen, my uncle beat me. I helped him get something with good intentions, but he walked slowly and kicked my ass and slapped me on the forehead." Wen Nuan frowned and looked at the quirky little girl next to him. Then when he raised his head, a pair of eyes looked at Han Qian with 2 cold eyes. It was not because Han Qian kicked Tukan, but because of the location of the kick. The day was over 30 degrees and it was very warm, but Han Qian couldn't help but shudder. He muttered something to help with the cooking and went to the kitchen. When he left, he was still thinking that children nowadays are really difficult to deal with. After Han Qian left, Tukan let go of Nuan's arm, and the 2 girls continued to do their own things without disturbing each other, as if they were not the ones holding hands affectionately just now. The dinner was so sumptuous that Han Qian didn't even know how to take off his chopsticks, and a smile appeared on his face with a hint of warmth. "Because there was a small pot of hairy crabs on the table, I used a small spoon in my left hand and started to grab it with my right hand. As soon as I stretched out my hand, Han Qian slapped it with chopsticks." Wen Nuan frowned, and Han Qian also frowned. "You are a guest. Why are you anxious when the host hasn't moved his chopsticks yet? Oh, Han Qian, why are you bullying Xiao Nuan? The host and guests are all one family. Come on. Pick a big one for Xiao Nuan." The landlady put the crabs in a warm bowl. Wen Nuan shook her head pitifully and whispered. "He won't eat crabs, and he won't let me eat them. I haven't eaten crabs for a long time." It would be bad if these words fell into the ears of the landlady. She lightly slapped Han Qian on the shoulder and scolded him. "You can't eat and you can't let Xiao Nuan eat? Han Qian, you can't do this." Han Qian was full of bitterness and had no place to vomit. At this time, he saw Xiao Tukan mutter something. He didn't hear it clearly, but it was definitely not a good word. Han Qian didn't want to talk to the 2 girls, so he asked about Li Jiayi. "As for the results, I am not 100% sure about the results of the first high school. I have to give it a try. The second high school is already stable. It seems that his grades are pretty good. If he works hard, he should be able to get into 211 or 985 university. As long as he keeps working hard, Gei has a good personality, so the landlady doesn't need to worry much. Perhaps children from single-parent families mature earlier. The landlady seems to have a very open mind about puppy love. As long as it doesn't affect the two children's studies and doesn't cause anything excessive, it's fine. Looking at the landlady and thinking about Tu Xiao, Han Qian sighed helplessly. When he married Wen Nuan, the old man said that he got married too early. Looking at his children now, Han Qian feels that he is old. After the meal, the two children went to study. Han Qian helped clean up the dishes and left the landlady's house with Nuan Nuan. On the way back, Nuan Nuan whispered that she didn't like the child Tu Kun. He had a rich personality at a young age that was inconsistent with his age. This has a lot to do with the living environment at home. People who are still licking their faces in warmth say that little Tukan is a bit precocious, but you are simply not mature at all. As soon as the front foot arrived home, the two children on the back foot came over. Li Jiai came with a book of math questions. He couldn't understand one question. He asked what color a bear was when it fell into a pit. Han Qian frowned and cursed the person who asked the question. Whether he was sick or not, Nuan Nuan grabbed the book and told Li Jiai, extending from mathematics to geography, and finally biology. Han Qian was confused after hearing this, and simply went to the bathroom to wash clothes. The clothes of Wen Nuan, a sloppy girl who claimed to be misophobic, were all light-colored. Han Qian washed them one by one. Little Tu Kun squatted at the door of the bathroom and looked at Han Qian. He said seriously that Han Qian should do it at home. A housewife, Han Qian raised his head and asked with a smile. "Why do you say that? You look warm, and you don't look like a woman who knows how to do housework. Your house is so clean, there's not even a hair on the floor, and the floor tiles can be used as mirrors. Aren't you also washing these clothes? When we were at Li Jiai's house, I also saw you cooking in the kitchen," Han Qian snapped. A hand filled with water slapped Tu Kun on the forehead. The little girl was instantly shocked. She stood up and tried to fight Han Qian. However, her arms were too short and she couldn't reach Han Qian after being held down on the forehead. Finally, after suffering a brain collapse, she went back to the living room to seek comfort from Li Jiai. Li Jiai was studying and Tu Kun was causing trouble. The two little guys still had a sweet feeling. After 10 o'clock, Tu Kun's cell phone rang. Guan Yunbiao came to pick her up and went home. Han Qian sent the two children out. Did not go downstairs, for fear that Guan Degu would suddenly say something and he would not be able to digest it for a while. The clothes were hung up and there was nothing else to do. Han Qian took a shower and changed his clothes and went upstairs to rest. He lay on the tatami and thought about this guy Lin Zongheng. This guy seemed to have a low IQ and looked like a playboy with no brains. The feeling is that it is not ambiguous at all to do something behind the scenes, and it is also very generous. 400,000. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 45. On Sunday, Han Qian was ready to take a day off for himself. Unfortunately, he was woken up in the morning. Li Jiai and Tu Kun came, bringing a rich breakfast and snacks for the day. Han Qian was squatting on the stairs in his pajamas and watching. Holding two small children, he was helpless. "Don't you two need to go to cram school? Don't make any noise. Your sister Wen is still sleeping. If you wake her up, you will be kicked out." While talking, Li Jiai took out a cup of soy milk from under the cushion of the sofa and handed it to Han Qian. The soy milk was still hot. He drank the soy milk and walked downstairs, leaning on the sofa and looking at Li Jiai. After a long time, Han Qian came back to his senses. "How did you two get in? The door is not closed." Tu Kun looked innocent. If the key hadn't been placed on the table, he would have almost deceived Han Qian. Han Qian nodded and said casually, "Why is this key still here? I have to put it away." Tu Kun stepped forward and grabbed the keys on the table. He received a blow on his smooth forehead, then covered his forehead and glared at Han Qian. "Uncle, can you please stop taking action?" Han Qian put away his serious face. "Cannot." After saying that, he stood up and told the two children to study hard, and he wanted to go back and take a nap. It was already noon when Han Qian got up. When he opened his eyes, he saw three guys, one big, two small, sitting in a row on the tatami. Little Tukan crossed his legs and raised his head and shouted, "Uncle, I'm hungry." Li Jiai said immediately, "Uncle, I brought the food." When it was Nuan's turn, Han Qian spoke first. "What does the eldest niece want to eat?" The warm feet fell on Han Qian's face, and Xiao Tukan saw the opportunity to take revenge and pounced on him. At noon, while Han Qian was cooking, two girls and a boy stood in a row outside the kitchen. Han Qian's nose was stuffed with paper balls, and he was cooking with anger. The dishes were brought over by Tukan: spicy chicken, hairy blood wang, a plate of boiled rapeseed in white water and a plate of cucumber mixed with jelly. Han Qian poured hot oil on Mao Suang, and the pungent smell filled the kitchen. Li Jiai hurriedly opened the window of the living room, and when Nuan walked into the kitchen to collect the dishes and chopsticks to prepare for dinner, Xiao Tukan handed a pair of gloves to Han Modesty. "Uncle, it's hot." Li Jiai hurriedly put the water he brought on the table. When the four of them sat down to eat, Nuan put a piece of ham in Han Qian's bowl and said awkwardly, "You eat more meat." Li Jiai put a glass of beer in front of Han Qian and whispered, "Uncle, it's ice cold to relieve the spicy taste." Little Tukan, who had never served anyone before, filled a bowl of rice, placed it in front of Han Qian, and whispered, "Uncle, eat more." Han Qian glanced at the three of them with a sullen face and snorted coldly. After dinner, Jiai, you go and review your homework. Xiao Tukan, you wrote your homework to warm you up. Han Qian, I don't have any homework. Then put away your snacks and I'll sleep all morning. You made your house look like a pig's nest. You rebelled one by one and lived in my house. I have to get beaten before I cook for you. Snapped. The chopsticks fell on the back of little Tukan's hand. The little girl screamed in pain, and Han Qian frowned. I can't control what you do at home, but when you are in my home, call me uncle and I have the right to control you. Underage people are not allowed to drink. There is yogurt in the refrigerator. Little Tukan was about to explode, and he opened his mouth to refute. Li Jiai quickly picked up a piece of cold osmanda sausage, fish balls, etc., and stuffed it into little Tukan's mouth, and then said, "Don't talk. My mother won't be back until tomorrow morning after returning to her hometown. Your father won't come home tonight either. They won't allow us to spend the night alone at home. If you want a place to sleep, shut up." Oops, I didn't realize that little Jiai had this ability. He actually managed to clean up the film of Tukan, a dishonest girl. After the meal, Li Jiai was not in a hurry to review his homework. He washed the dishes, then wiped the coffee table and floor tiles with a rag, packed away the warm and harmful snack bags, and then went to review his homework. This child was too sensible and turned to look at the little boy. Tukan, writing an assignment was like sending her to the execution ground, frowning and biting the pen. Nuan helped Jiai review his homework for a while. This was completely to repay Li Jiai for helping him clean up the house. After reviewing for half an hour, Nuan went to work. One phone call after another, Han Qian stood idle beside Tukan. Next to him, looking at the clean appearance on the homework book, Han Qian frowned. It's difficult. Little Tukan raised his head and nodded vigorously. Too difficult. Han Qian picked up the paper and took a look at it, then said, "Come on, let me tell you. It's actually not difficult." Han Qian spent the entire afternoon giving lectures to Tu Kun. The little girl was very smart but didn't like studying. When Han Qian checked the test papers in the evening, he found that the results were pretty good. The liberated little Tu Kun shouted that he would go out for a good meal in the evening. Reward yourself by not letting Han Qian cook at home. The little girl Tu Kun is also very sensible, but there is something wrong with her sensibleness. When Wen Nuan, who had just put down her work, heard that she was going out to eat, she immediately suggested that she treat her to a barbecue and drink some sake or beer. Vote 3. For example, Li Jiai was the one who didn't agree to go out to eat. It was getting a little cold at night, so I put on jeans, over-the-knee boots and a white t-shirt. After thinking about it, I found a brown leather jacket. In this moment, Xiajiabio transformed into a motorcycle style. Han Qian couldn't accept it. Whispering a reminder that it would be hot, Nuan curled his lips and said, "Just throw it in the car." At this time, Xiao Tukan made a last-ditch attack. Sister Wen's figure is really straight. Nuan turned his head and glared, looked Tu Kun up and down, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Child." Tu Kun instantly turned into a pufferfish. It looked like he was going to compete with Wen Nuan, but because he had to raise his head when standing next to Wen, she gave up. However, the childish Wen didn't give up. She changed into a pair that was exactly the same, with a 5 cm high. The high-heeled boots made little Tu Kun even shorter. Han Qian asked softly as he went downstairs, "Aren't you childish? Why are you competing with children?" Nuan shook his long hair, frowned and said coldly, "Then I'm going to argue with Yan Qingqing. If you're willing, I don't mind." I don't know whether this reluctance meant that he was willing to give up warmth to suffer a loss, or he was reluctant to let Yan Qingqing out. Han Qian wisely chose to shut up. Silence may be the right choice at this time, but Han Qian never expected that just now Yan Qingqing called after getting out of the elevator. Worried about the land, Han Qian didn't dare not answer the call. He took a deep breath and pressed the answer button while sitting in the driver's seat. Before Han Qian could speak, Yan Qingqing's roar was heard by everyone in the car. "It's clear. Han Daxian er, do you want to die? Answering the phone earlier will delay you and Nuan's work? It's not dark yet." Nuan's face turned dark instantly. He leaned close to the phone and shouted in a tired voice, "Brother Qian who is so rude?" Han Qian had goosebumps all over his body. Yan Qingqing on the other end of the phone was silent for 2 seconds and then cursed. "Your second aunt, so-and-so, your ex-wife, what the hell are you asking? Han Qian, come to my office at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning." Nuan was angry, grabbed the phone and cursed angrily. "Who are you calling a damn vixen? Giant baby. I'm scolding the giant baby." Snapped. Yan Qingqing hung up the phone and threw the phone on the bed. In front of her was a copy of the certificate that the plan had been approved and that construction was allowed. She didn't expect that things would go so smoothly. On the weekend, the Yeomanman actually worked overtime to approve the note for her. Originally wanted to share the joy with Han Qian, but now she is in a bad mood. 7 o'clock. If I can come to the company at 10 o'clock tomorrow, you and Han Qian will be considered awesome. At this moment, Wen Nuan asked Han Qian to drive to the hardware store. She wanted to buy an axe and Yan Qingqing went to work hard. Xiao Tukan became honest and did not dare to provoke Wen Nuan. She felt the woman's terror from the voice on the phone. Han Qian had a headache. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 46. a general manager and a vice president of a company. In the past, Han Qian had seen on TV that the top managers cursed each other in a literary way. Why did they become a bit abusive when it came to Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing? When he went home at night, little Tukun was arranged in the guest room on the first floor. The quilt was brought from the eldest sister's house. Han Qian and Li Jiayi shared a room. When Han Qian was taking a shower, Nuan appeared outside the door and knocked hard. Open the door. Not open. Crack. When Nuan opened the door directly, Han Qian was frightened and quickly grabbed a towel to cover his vitals. He looked at Wen with a look of shame and anger and said angrily, "Are you a gangster?" Wen Nuan's face was also slightly red, probably because he drank some wine at night. He pinched his waist with his hands and glared at Han Qian and said angrily, "You are resigning with glory? I don't want any money you owe me. I'm giving you 400,000. Han Qian took a deep breath and then said, Nuan, what would happen if I threw the towel away?" When Nuan looked provocative, Han Qian let go of his hand and the towel fell off. Nuan saw this and turned around and ran away with a scream. Han Qian, who was standing in the bathroom, pinched his waist and laughed. "I haven't even taken off my underwear yet." She must not resign, and Wen Nuan will not go back on what she said. She will indeed give Han Qian money without asking for a penny of debt, but is this kind of life what Han Qian wants? If he wanted to, he would not have chosen divorce in the first place. Men should have some pride and pressure. The glorious life is very suitable for Han Qian. Yan Qingqing, a woman with a sharp mouth and a soft heart, is of great use to Han Qian. Another point is that Han Qian wants to see if he can earn 4 million in 1 year. I rinsed my head with cold water in the bathroom to wake myself up. At the same time, I also had a headache. I have to go to the company at 7 tomorrow, woman. It's better to try to avoid Yan Qingqing and Nuan meeting each other in the future, damn it. Is this guy Lin Zhonghan causing some trouble? He really needs to sit down and have a talk with Guan Yunbiao when he has time. There should be some benefits to building a good relationship with this guy, but he's just so cool. When Nuan rested when we went upstairs. When we returned to the room, we found that the quilt was missing. Li Jiayi said innocently that his uncle had taken it away. He seemed to want his uncle to go and sleep with him. Han Qian gave in and dragged him to bed. Past Li Jiayi's quilt. "Let's sleep together, father and mother." When Han Qian was about to fall asleep, Li Jiayi suddenly whispered, "Uncle, are you asleep?" Sleep. He was indeed a little sleepy. He had to arrive at the company at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Li Jiayi sighed and whispered again, "Do you think children without a father will be looked down upon by others?" I didn't dare to fight with Li Bo and the others at school. I was still scared when I started fighting. If his father comes to see my mother, I don't know what to do. My mother is a woman and I am still young, so I will definitely not be able to beat his father with my hands. Han Qian turned around and slapped Li Jiayi on the forehead, frowning. "What are you afraid of? There are so many children without fathers in this world, and none of them are living well. Look at Neza. He has a father, but didn't his father still hand him over to the Dragon King? Everything, there is a father but there is no father. It's not important. What's important is that you have to strive for excellence, study hard, and be promising in the future. Let people know that you are not less than others, but actually better than them." But Neza has a master. Neza has no uncle. After hearing this, Li Jiayi smiled, rolled over and rolled away the quilt. Han Qian stood up and knocked on the warm door. After a while, the quilt with a new cover was thrown out. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Li Jiayi and Xiao Tukan had already gotten up to wash and dress. Han Qian asked the two children if they needed to be sent away. Li Jiai shook his head and said that he would take a taxi to school. When he went out, he clenched his fist and encouraged Han Qian. After the two children left, Han Qian put on his clothes and went downstairs. Empress Yasha asked him to come to the company at 7 o'clock, as if in a fit of convulsion. If he went late, she would have another reason to scold him. After squeezing onto the bus, as the crowd swayed, Han Qian couldn't understand why these grandparents came so early in the morning and squeezed into the bus with the children who were going to work and school. Is it just for the few eggs in the supermarket that are less than 20 cents a pound? Another thing Han Qian never knew was whether the senior citizen card or the senior citizen card was free of charge. When we finally got off the bus, there were too many people, so Han Qian couldn't squeeze in. Not only did he sit one extra stop, he also got into an argument with some old men and women on the bus. When he got off the bus, Han Qian turned around and glared at the old men. After beating Guandegu but losing to these old men, Han Qian was a little unconvinced. I bought a pancake and a cup of soy milk from a roadside stall and walked into the company at 6:55. The security guards at the company looked at Han Qian with strange eyes. Why did he come so early? Dragging his tired body into the elevator, he felt that all his energy had been exhausted by the bus. The moment the elevator closed, little Yang Jia appeared in Han Qian's sight. Han Qian hurriedly pressed the door button. Little Yang Jia rushed into the elevator without any makeup, took the soy milk from Han Qian's hand without any sign, and muttered a complaint. Brother Qian, can you and Mr. Yan be flirting with each other so that you don't get in trouble with us brats? You're just catching up on dramas at home, but you have to come over in the morning to monitor whether you have arrived at the company. Han Qian handed the straw to Xiao Yangjia and frowned. Are you here to monitor me? Where is Mr. Yan? Have no idea. On the 14th floor, little Yangjia went to change clothes. Han Qian did not get out of the elevator, but went back downstairs to buy another cup of soy milk and stood at the entrance of Glory to finish breakfast. 7:30. Gao Jingcheng came to the company. Today he changed into a white suit and his earrings were changed into silver ones. He was slightly surprised when he saw Han Qian. He walked up and took out a cigarette and handed it to Han Qian, smiling. So early? You're too dedicated. Han Qian took the cigarette and put it in his ear, smiling softly at Gao Jing'ai. Mr. Yan called me yesterday and asked me to come over early. I have recovered after 2 days of rest. I am staying at home, so why not come to the company early? Gao Jing'ai smiled and shrugged, lit the cigarette, took a long puff, and said with a grin. 2 days of rest? It doesn't look like you're taking a rest. Are you still in trouble after practicing boxing? If you have any trouble, let me know. If it goes well, I'll help you solve it. I don't want us to the great hero of glory suffered. Han Qian reached out and touched the corners of his eyes, smiling bitterly. There was a bit of a conflict. I couldn't control my temper and made a move. Thinking about it, I feel a little regretful. I'll go to Yangjia and ask for a mask to wear. I can't tarnish the image of glory. It's better to be young. Gao Fulai sighed, but Han Qian didn't answer. Both Nuan Wen and Lao Wen mentioned Gao Fulai and asked Han Qian to be careful. Now Han Qian also wants to go back to the general department to hang out for a while, but Gao Fulai he refused to leave and kept chatting. He didn't seem to want to go upstairs. The employees of the company gradually came to work, and Han Qian's cat-like face became the focus. Everyone stared at it for a while. Then the little red BMW came, and Sun Ya walked slowly in a short skirt and twisted her coquettish waist. Come on, Gao Xingcheng had a lewd smile on his face, and said with a very lewd smile. Han Qian, Lin Zongheng is quite hostile to you. If he gives you trouble, come to me at any time. Han Qian frowned slightly, then smiled. Okay, Mr. Gao. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 47. What on earth is this grandson Lin Zonghong doing? Is he going to make trouble so that everyone in the city knows about it? Is this guy not afraid of embarrassment? Also, high performance is a bit too diligent, right? Looking at the backs of Gao Xing'ai and Sun Ya, Han Qian couldn't help but frown. Hey, brother Qianer, what are you looking at? Suliang patted Han Qian's shoulder. When Han Qian turned his head, Suliang jumped back in fright and asked with twitching eyes. Did you have a bit of an exciting weekend? Han Qian sighed feebly. I can't help it. We are in the world. I see dark circles under your eyes. You were very busy last night, right? It's okay. Brother Qianer can't help but spend the money. Get lost. Everyone has their own lifestyle. Suliang lives by the concept of drinking now and getting drunk now, squandering his young capital and youth to his heart's content. Han Qian can't care about it and doesn't want to. When the two were chatting, Yang Lan came. She seems to like blue very much. She wears a blue professional skirt with flesh-colored stockings, a chiffon shirt on her upper body, long hair tied behind her head, and a slender white neck. Yang Lan is very beautiful. She seems to have dressed up specially today. Even more beautiful. Suliang and Han Qian looked at each other, then pretended to be like Brother Pig and shouted at the same time. Beauty, please leave your phone number. Yang Lan, who was about to enter the elevator, froze in place for a moment. When these two bastards yelled at her, all the staff's eyes fell on her. They stamped their feet angrily, turned around and ran towards the two troublemakers. Come. Yang Lan looked a bit shy and angry, and looked very charming while trotting on high heels. However, this scene was not so good in the eyes of Han Qian and Suliang. Their ears were grabbed by Yang Lan, and the two he quickly begged for mercy, but unfortunately he was unable to do so. Yang Lan grabbed one by one and dragged him into the elevator. When stepping out of the elevator, Yang Lan heard the people in the elevator behind him talking quietly. Manager Yang is really beautiful today. She is good looking, but she doesn't dress up very much. Not to mention Yang Lan, Han Qian, and Suliang from the general department are also very handsome. Why do the handsome guys go to the general department? Listening to the gossip behind him, Yang Lan became even more embarrassed and angry. When he threw the two into the general department, Lu Zhuolong's eyes widened when he saw Yang Lan. He rubbed his hands and came forward to flatter him. Lan. Yang Lan was startled, ignored Lu Zhuolong, pointed at the two bastards and gritted his teeth. You two. Before he finished speaking, Han Qian raised his hand and said repeatedly. Sister Yang, I have to report to Mr. Yan. Suliang did everything. I'll leave first. Hey. Brother Qianer, you are not honest. Don't run away. At the moment of shutdown, Han Qian decisively betrayed his teammates and ran out of the general department. Then he heard Yang Ian's order for Suliang to clean the general department. Han Qian was lucky to run fast. When he arrived at Yan Qingqing's office, Empress Yasha had already started working. There were a lot of documents on the table. Little Yang Jia was busy working on it, and Han Qian was sitting quietly on the sofa, flipping through a fashion magazine, without interrupting. After a while, Yan Qingqing, who was looking at the documents, spoke. The preparatory work has been completed. Now the government office has started preparing for the residents to move. In about a month, we can start looking for a builder. I can let you and the people from the project department be responsible for this matter. Han Qian leaned back on the sofa and said softly. Just leave the negotiation to the project department. I'll take a look at the design drawings when the time comes. It's best to leave the supervision to the general department. At this time, Yan Qingqing raised her head, frowned when she saw Han Qian with a wounded face, and said in a deep voice. How old are you to still fight? Han Qian, I really suspect that you are violent. What did you and Gao Xingzi say downstairs this morning? While speaking, Yan Qingqing had already stood up and walked around the table towards Han Qian. Today, this woman seemed to be dressed a little more like a human being. She was wearing a black suit, but she had a pair of pink bunny slippers on her feet. Han Qian covered his face and shook his head. He also asked me about my facial injury. I couldn't control my temper and got into a fight with someone the day before yesterday. Mr. Yan, I don't know much about the relationship between you and Gao Jingcheng. I feel like he always wants to win over me. Yan Qingqing took the magazine in Han Qian's hand and put it on the coffee table, then sat on the chairs and faced Han Qian. The distance between the two was very close. Han Qian couldn't help but lean back, and Yan Qingqing leaned forward slightly. When Han Qian was about to retreat again, Yan Qingqing suddenly grabbed Han Qian's collar and pulled him down in front of him, saying angrily, "I just want to see the injury on your face, why are you hiding?" Han Qian looked innocent and whispered, "I thought you were going to kiss me." As soon as these words came out, Yan Qingqing suddenly laughed. She looked at Han Qian with a smile and gave him a wink. Han Qian was slightly stunned when he saw this, and suddenly felt a pain in his arm. He didn't pay attention for a while and Yan Qingqing was, pressing down on the sofa with her backhand. Yan Qingqing laughed sweetly. "Little Hanzi, do you want a kiss from me?" Han Qian said nothing, while Yan Qingqing tilted her head and said, "Gao Jishi is indeed wooing you. Most of the talents I have found around me have been poached by Gao Jishi. Now there are only a few left. Song Jing from the Human Resources Department counts 1, and Yang Lan from the General Department counts half. Do you think my sister threw you into the General Department to get back at you? As long as I succeed once, it means that Gao Fulai fails once. He has always wanted to sit in my position. Do you think he can keep me by my side? Han Qian, you are missing money, I will give you a chance to make money. If you dare to retaliate against me, I will go to Nuan and tell you that you slept with me without paying me. I'm really moved when you say that. Sleep with me. I'm talking about Gao Jixi's matter of wooing me. Why are you sleeping with me when I have nothing to do? I'm afraid you will be strangled to death in the middle of the night." Han Qian used a little force to break free from Yan Qingqing's restraints, but this time he used too much force. When he put Yan Qingqing's arms around his head, he accidentally pulled the woman into his arms. Yan Qingqing was immediately furious. Han Qian they were also confused. When the two were about to separate, little Song Jia opened the door. "Mr. Yan, you don't want it?" The scene in front of him shocked little Yang Jia. Han Qian was busy trying to push Yan Qingqing out of his arms, but Yan Qingqing suddenly hugged Han Qian's neck and whispered to little Yang Jia to just put it on the coffee table. Little Yang Jia left with a blushing face. After entering the office, Yan Qingqing stood up and punched Han Qian in the stomach. Han Qian screamed in pain. "Are you sick?" Yan Qingqing curled her lips and said. "Little Yang Jia is famous for gossip and big mouth in the company. She will tell others about me sitting in your arms right away, and it will slowly spread to Gao Jingqing's ears. Even if you want to go, he will doubt anyone who is in the high-performance camp and will not believe you. Don't blame me for being too insidious, Han Qian. This is the adult world. Do you know what my fate will be after I fail? It's a canary, I'm not man, I don't have the capital to make a comeback either." Han Qian looked helpless and sighed helplessly. "Then you want everyone in glory to think that we have an unclear relationship? Empress Yasha, if you don't get married, I still want to get back together with the giant baby? The worst that can happen is that my sister will feel aggrieved. No, you made a lot of money, I feel wronged. Hey haha." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 48. Han Qian, You said you want the general department to be the supervisor, but do you know that Yang Lan from the general department can't control those people? Yan Qingqing was arranging her hair. Her proud mind would probably make Wen Nuan feel murderous. Han Qian lay on the sofa and looked at the ceiling and whispered softly. I know, Sul Yang and I are basically the ones doing the supervisory work. Others can just stay in the office peacefully. It's not a problem for the general manager to be like this. I don't worry about other people's life and death, mainly Yang. On my sister's side, Gao Jingcheng is thinking of disbanding the General Affairs Department, and Yang Ian's character will not be bullied, so it's better to take some action. You bastard, don't you know that women are most beautiful when they comb their hair? I'm too lazy to look at you. It's so scary to look at you. Get out. Okay. Han Qian didn't want to stay in the same office with Yan Qingqing alone. Han Qian was not lustful, but that didn't mean he wasn't a man. When he went out, he saw little Yang Jia with an excited face, and Han Qian said to his head a slap. Headache. The forehead belongs to you. Under the gossipy gaze of Xiao Yang Jia, Han Qian entered the elevator. Compared with Yan Qingqing's office, Han Qian hated the current general department more. Everyone protested together, but no one, including Han Qian, was serious. While walking in the corridor, I could still hear the noise from the general department. The moment I walked in, the general department was clean. There was only a girl sitting in the corner who was wearing headphones and mouthing the 3-character sutra to the computer. She spoke eloquently to Han. Qian was a little scared, so he sat quietly in his seat and chatted with Sul Yang about how he spent his weekend. Han Qian came back, and Yang Lan also came out of the office. She had just received a call from Mr. Yan. She clapped her hands and told the members of the general department to prepare. She would go to the construction site for supervision in a while. Remember to prepare a few more clothes. At the same time, he also shouted to the girl in the corner. Xiao Waner, how can a girl curse others? Qian Wan raised her head and smiled innocently, closed the game and took off her headphones. At this time, Li Dongsheng on the side started to laugh. My mother said, Qian Wan, you are the most unsuitable woman to be a wife. Looking at the well-behaved Qian Wan, he turned his head to Li Dongsheng and smiled sweetly. Mama, you'd better shut up. Don't think that because your dad is one of the shareholders, I won't dare to scold you. I talk about your mom all the time. Why don't you kick her in the pocket? Ouch. Han Qian came to be interested. He had already guessed that Li Dongshen's father was a shareholder of Glory. Moreover, Qian Wan didn't seem to take this shareholder seriously. Yang Lan stopped him. He stopped the quarrel between the two and told them that if they wanted to quarrel, they would be transferred to another department immediately. Han Qian looked at Qian Wan and Li Dongshen with interest. He now had a gossipy look on his face. Sul Yang saw Han Qian's expression and laughed softly. There are only a few people in the general department who didn't rely on connections. You, me, Wu Si Quan, as long as they work with their heads down, it doesn't matter. Those who eat snacks and play games are all connections. Sister Yang's temper is also relatively soft. Huh. Brother Qianer, let me ask you, just now little Yang Jia came over and said that you and Mr. Yan are in love? Han Qian stretched out his hand to push Sul Yang's head away and cursed with a smile. If you believe Xiao Yang Jia's words, even the dead can't wear clothes. Don't listen to her nonsense. It's true what Sister Yang said about going to supervise next month. It may be cold by then. Remember to wear more clothes. That Qian Wan has a great background. Her aunt is also one of the shareholders of the company. They are all gentlemen who come here to experience life. Miss, they can't compare. Oh, they can't compare. Brother Qianer, tell me, they spend money without blinking an eye. Do they have 8 dishes every day? Ah. What are you thinking about? It's not much different from ordinary people. When you have 1 million, you will feel the same as now. What you can't afford will still be unaffordable. Suliang smiled and did not answer. Life in the general department became peaceful again. I met Gao Xingchen in the cafeteria at noon. He just smiled at Han Qian and did not come to say hello. Yan Qingqing's vicious method seemed to have worked. In the afternoon, when Han Qian was bored, he received the call turn off Big Dog's phone. Han Qian was not surprised that Guan Degu knew his phone number. If he didn't have this ability, everything he said could be regarded as farts. In the shade of the main entrance of Glory, Guan Degu and Han Qian, dressed in bright red suits, standing in the shade, people passing by walked around, and it seemed that the reputation of Big Dogs was extremely bad. Guan Degu didn't forget to bring a bottle of water and handed it to Han Qian, grinning. Brother Han, Lin Zongheng called again today and asked when he would take action. I didn't tell him not to take action. I just said that I was looking for an opportunity and came over to ask for your opinion. Han Qian took the water and frowned with a smile. Brother Guan, it makes me a little uneasy that you are so attentive. There shouldn't be anything in me that interests your master, right? Brother Han is wrong. A call from your relative made my master a little worried. Why is it useless? Li Jinhai is our natural enemy and cannot be provoked. Of course, one Li Jinhai can only get one. Tell the news that Lin Zongheng is trying to kill you, as for us here to help you, is all because of my eldest lady. The eldest lady called the master this morning. Surprisingly, the person who talked about the most on the phone besides Li Jiai was Brother Han. I heard that the eldest lady wants to take the papers she made at your house home to show off to her master, so. At this point, Guan Degu suddenly ran away. Han Qian frowned when he followed his gaze. Sun Ya, who was wearing a short skirt, twisted her coquettish waist and walked down the stairs. Guan Degu had gone to strike up a conversation. The result was natural. Needless to say, Guan Degu was rejected. Guan Degu chuckled when he walked back to Han Qian. This Sun Ya is Gao Jishi's woman. My master has always wanted to blackmail Gao Jishi but couldn't find a chance. Opportunities are rare. Brother Han, don't blame me. This sentence was automatically filtered by Han Qian, and he chuckled. So your master asked you to come here and tell me that you want to reject Lin Zongheng? From what you said, your master's life seems not to be easy now. Brother Han is joking. My master owns 4K TVs, 2 bars, and 2 bathhouses. Although he is not rich, he still needs to collect money. No one is afraid of money biting his hand, right? This time, master, I put the treasure on Brother Han. I believe Brother Han won't let my master suffer, right? Han Qian suddenly became angry. He put his foot on Guan Degu's stomach and kicked him to the ground. He pointed at the sky and cursed angrily. Guan Degu, you are dishonest. I won't play with you anymore. After saying that, he turned around and left. This scene was clearly seen by Gao Zixi, who was standing on the 12th floor, and Yan Qingqing, who was on the 14th floor. Both of them knew the hottie in the red suit, and they also saw Guan Degu being kicked. Going out. Guan Degu, who was lying on the ground, sighed feebly, took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. Master, this Han Qian is not easy to fool, why don't we just tie him up? Okay, I know. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 49. As soon as Han Qian arrived at the general department on the 11th floor, Gao Xingchen was already waiting outside the elevator. Without asking, he knew it was about Guan Yunbiao. But before Gao Xingchen could speak, Little Yang Jia rushed into the elevator like a sharp sword and pressed 13A. The button went to the 14th floor. Han Qian smiled apologetically at Gao Jinshan, and Gao Jinshan made a gesture that it was okay. In fact, Han Qian really wanted to chat with Gao Jingcheng. Honor was very good to its employees, but the interior was really messy. On the 14th floor when he first arrived, Guandegu called again and said that he wanted to invite Han Qian. "Brother, go sit in the cafe opposite." Han Qian hung up the phone without saying anything and walked into Yan Qingqing's office. Han Qian frowned. "Is this my second entry into the palace?" Yan Qingqing grabbed the folder on the table and threw it at Han Qian, frowning. "I'm not in the mood to mess around with you. Why is Guandegu looking for you?" Taken together, the reputation of Guandegu is so bad. This reputation is not small. Han Qian walked up with the folder and put it on the table, frowning. "We have a little relationship. How come you all know Guan Yunbiao? He is very famous." "It's not that he's famous, but that he's notorious. Blackmail, fraud, fighting, there's nothing he hasn't done before. When something goes wrong, a younger brother will take the blame and go to jail. Let's build up a relationship, it will come out in 3 to 5 years. As he spoke, he thought about the phone again, and this time Guandegu got straight to the point and spoke bluntly. "Brother Han, please make a price." Han Qian hummed, thought for a moment and then spoke. Half an hour later, the cafe opposite. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian looked at Yan Qingqing and asked, "Do you know Tu Xiao?" "I know, but I'm not familiar with him. It's just a nod when we meet. The gangster in District 8 has changed into a good person in the past few years. Do you think he has any idea of becoming a builder?" Yan Qingqing was silent and looked at Han Qian with fox eyes. She smiled, and Han Qian also laughed. Then Yan Qingqing slapped the table and stood up, saying angrily, "No. Han Qian, why do you want to make the decision on my behalf? Are you my man or my boss? It is absolutely impossible for you to give favors." Han Qian couldn't help but frowned. "Why? Tu Xiao is from the underworld. Even if he cuts corners, there is nothing we can do against him at Glory. In the end, I will be held accountable. No. Tu Xiao is definitely not allowed." Yan Qingqing sternly refused. After weighing the pros and cons, he could not leave it to Tu Xiao. Hearing what Yan Qingqing said, Han Qian also felt a little unreliable, but Han Qian thought of what Guandegu would say downstairs. Talk. He wanted to blackmail Gao Fulai. Han Qian thought about it and told Yan Qingqing about it. After hearing this, Yan Qingqing's eyes lit up again. Han Qian was not in the mood to listen to his nagging. He turned around and went downstairs, leaving Yan Qingqing to think by herself. Thinking. Blackmail or not, Han Qian didn't care. What he cared about was that the idea made Yan Qingqing excited. It was Tu Xiao who wanted to take action against Gao Jingcheng, but from Guandegu's behavior towards Sun Ya, it didn't look like he was trying to blackmail him. Tu Xiao should have asked this guy to get in touch with Sun Ya, and the alternative was Han Qian. Guandegu made his own decision. In the coffee shop, Guandegu was sitting with his legs crossed by the window and was flirting with a white-collar lady not far away. Suddenly the white-collar lady got up and ran away. Guandegu was immediately furious. When he turned around to look back, he was smiling. Stood up and shouted loudly, regardless of whether others needed to be quiet or not. "Brother Han, here." As soon as he finished speaking, a waiter came over to remind him not to disturb others. Guandegu frowned and became angry. He frowned and took out a wad of bills from his pocket, counting them one by one and placing them in the waiter's tray. Continued to shout loudly to Han Qian. "Brother Han, you are finally here. If you don't come, Guan will be thrown into the sea to feed the fish." Seeing Han Qian coming, Guandego smiled, turned to the waiter and smiled. If you dare to come here and disturb me, I'll break your legs and bring you the best coffee. I won't make up for it myself. The rest is your tip, get out. The waiter ran away with a tip of 700 yuan. No one in the coffee shop dared to provoke this alien. Han Qian came over with a smile. When he sat down, coffee was also placed on the table. Han Qian crossed his legs and curled his lips. I'm not very interested in cubology stuff, brother Guan. It's not like you're stalking me just because of Lin Zongheng, right? Besides, you should be able to see my current financial situation. Not a suitable blackmail target for you. Guandego was a little unsure about the Han Qian in front of him, and said with a smile on his face. Brother Han, what are you talking about? Don't tell me that Lin Zongheng wants to do something to you. As long as you say a word, I will make him covered in excrement today. We brothers hit it off as soon as we saw each other. If we don't speak the two languages, we don't like coffee. The two brothers just exchange wine. Haha, brother Guan's jokes are really good. If I keep telling jokes, it won't be a good idea for me to skip work and have to go back. Hearing that Han Qian was leaving, Guandego stood up quickly, his face a little anxious. Seeing this, Han Qian suddenly laughed. Ha ha ha, brother Guan, you are so funny. You were acting with me in the company just now. How can I leave, right? I hope brother Guan can be honest. It was Xiao Tukan who told you that you have a good relationship with Yan Qingqing. Or you found someone to investigate me. Having said that, Guandego no longer provided cover, and sat on the chair dejectedly, sighing helplessly. Hey, let me tell you if I am the material. I am good at murder and arson. I don't want to talk to people like you who are playing tricks on your brains. The master called the eldest lady and found out, but I hope brother Han can believe it. Let me tell you, I have absolutely no intention of harming you, brother Han. I'm worried that someone will say that I can't defeat you in a one-on-one duel. Han Qian picked up the coffee and took a sip. The coffee was too hot and the sound was a bit like an old man drinking tea in his hometown. Seeing the astonishment on Guandego's face, Han Qian laughed. I drank coffee, but my temperament hasn't come up yet. In fact, I prefer to drink some tea. I don't like this foreign stuff. Brother Guan and I are friends. We are close friends at first sight. I don't believe you. Why do you still believe in Pinocchio? Cao. What is this? Drinking. Han Qian didn't bother to explain to Guandego, so he smiled and continued. If brother Guan is just chatting with me, I definitely don't believe it. If my guess is right, the person Tu Xiao wants to find is Sun Yat, right? But you are more optimistic about me, Han Qian, and then you find that I am more difficult to deal with than Sun Yat. I also know that Sun Yat and I are not getting along. You and I got involved together and were directly sentenced to death by Sun Yat. The result was not what Tu Xiao wanted, so it was difficult for you. Am I right in my guess? There was cold sweat on Guandego's head, and he picked up the coffee cup pretending to be calm, and Han Qian said again with a chuckle. Tu Xiao's life is very difficult, right? Now he needs a transformation and an opportunity to make a steady profit without losing money. The only things that can give him the confidence to invest are glory and Changxiang. Changxiang has not made any moves now, so he chose glory. Tu Xiao wants to be a builder. Puff. A mouthful of coffee spurted out, hitting the man on the side who was about to leave. Guandego didn't seem to notice, and looked at Han Qian with wide eyes. Brother Han, are you crazy? Han Qian didn't give Guandego an answer. He picked up the handkerchief on the table and handed it to the poor man. Unexpectedly, this guy didn't appreciate it at all. He threw away the handkerchief and started to grab Guandego's shoulder. Base. A cold light flashed, and Guan Degu pulled out a half-meter-long short knife from behind his waist and nailed it to the table. The poor man turned around and left without any intention of dragging his feet. However, Yan Qingqing, who was rushed to the coffee shop by the scene, see clearly. She didn't know what happened outside, but she saw Guan Degu suddenly drew his knife and stared at Han Qian. Yan Qingqing trotted across the road to the cafe, but Han Qian just shrugged and said softly, "Put it away, we are all serious people. Brother Guan, why don't you ask me if Han Qian has the ability to persuade Yan Qingqing?" Guan Degu put away the knife and sighed. 10 seconds ago I was doubting it, but now I believe it, Brother Han. You are truly a god, you are a happy vice president Wen, a glorious president Yan, you are so blessed. Han Qian suddenly turned his head and saw Yan Qingqing dragging a chair towards the side. Why is Lady Yasha here? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 50. Yan Qingqing sat next to Han Qian, frowning and looking at Guan Degu with a bit of disgust. Guan Yunbiao didn't look at her, but looked at Han Qian and smiled bitterly. Brother Han, you probably guessed what my master meant, no. You have guessed it accurately. Now you can make your request. Why don't you ask me if I can do it? Mr. Yan is already sitting here. So, it's me who negotiates terms with you, I'm the one who recommends you, and the one who makes the decision is Mr. Yan. Brother Guan, your master is a bit insincere. We are both underlings of the Dragon King. It's the shrimp soldier, and I'm the crab general. I understand, please wait for the good news, Brother Han. Also, for the sake of the friendship between you and me, I will clean up Lin Zongheng's little tricks and leave. Don't send them away, I paid the bill, Mr. Yan is free to do it, just click, if you don't miss the money, just treat me as a big dog and pay you compensation. As soon as Guan Degu left, Yan Qingqing turned around and punched Han Qian on the shoulder, saying angrily, "Do you know how dangerous this guy is? Aren't you asking for trouble when you meet him alone? He has already gone under the knife. Is he threatening you? Don't breathe if he threatens you." Han Qian knocked Yan Qingqing's hand off with his hand and cursed with a smile. "Then I have to suffocate myself to death. The injuries on my face were caused by Guan Degu, and the injuries on his face were also caused by me. Do you think he can threaten me? You told me about the builder this morning. When Guan Degu came to see me and Sun Ya, I guessed a little bit about Niduan. This guy Guan Degu almost did something wrong by making his own decision this time. It was also an opportunity for me. You know, I am very if you need money, 35,000 is never too little, and 180,000 is never too much. There is no cure for you. You are really doing whatever it takes to get money. What do you mean by being a shrimp soldier and a crab general just now? Do you want me to see Tu Xiao?" Yan Qingqing had a look of resistance on her face. Han Qian smiled and adjusted her clothes and chuckled softly. "You are speaking too highly of him. I have never met Tu Xiao, but from his experience and asking Guan Yunbiao to test the water today, we can see that he is very proud. Let him wait for a while and then boldly release the news and other information builders negotiate." Yan Qingqing slapped Han Qian's hand away and said angrily, "Don't take advantage of me, Han Qian. I was so out of my mind that I let you join the glory group. Why do you always want to cooperate with me, Tu Xiao? You can earn tens of thousands by just doing something with your brain. Or a favor fee of hundreds of thousands, why would you contact such a dangerous person?" Han Qian curled his lips after being slapped and replied calmly, "There are many reasons to contact them. This guy Lin Zongheng paid for my legs, and the person he was looking for was Guan Degu. This is first, and secondly, after you cooperate with Tu Xiao, you have an ally. You only need to see the results. If something goes wrong, Tu Xiao will be responsible. Those who want to cause trouble for you secretly may not have the courage to interfere at the construction site. If you choose Tu Xiao, you will cut off his cooperation with Gao Jiji in advance. In the end, for my money. Gun Gun, I think you are deceiving me just for your money. Anyway, I won't talk to Tu Xiao. I'll go. You don't have to come forward, I'll go talk. If someone on the board of directors refutes, I will tell this person's name to Guan Degu. The adult world is not so upright. Yan Qingqing stared at Han Qian and stood up, then turned around and grabbed her hair with both hands. She kept tapping her high heels on the ground, mumbling as if she was very annoyed and entangled. Han Qian stood up with a smile, straightened his suit and followed Yan Qingqing, leaving the cafe behind. On the way, Yan Qingqing punched and kicked Han Qian. The force was not heavy, but more to vent her inner entanglement and unwillingness. Why was she led by Han Qian now? The main reason was that what he said really made her very heartwarming. Gao Xingcheng stood in front of the window and looked at the two people talking about love crossing the road, frowning. Sun Ya, who was wearing a short skirt, came over, gently hugged Gao Xingcheng's waist, and said sweetly, "What's wrong? That Han Qian gives you a headache." Gao Xingcheng pulled Sun Ya in front of him with his backhand, lifted his hands, rested his chin on Sun Ya's shoulder, pointed at the two people downstairs and smiled lewdly. The appearance of Han Qian broke my plan. I'm not sure whether he hit it by mistake or whether he has real materials. No matter which one, he will not be used by me and I will trouble you again. Don't stare at Li Dongshen, get Han Qian away first. Sun Ya stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with a blood-red face, nodded as softly as a mosquito, and then Gao Xingcheng continued. Actually, you shouldn't angrily rebuke Guan Degu. Building a good relationship with him will also be useful to us. We can try to seduce this guy and test him about looking for Han Qian. Sun Ya suddenly turned around and looked at Gao Xingii with some reluctance and said coquettishly, "Are you willing to do so?" Gao Xingii laughed lewdly. "Let me change your car. Aren't you attracted to Li Jinhe's Panamera? It's so kind of you." Sun Ya snuggled into Gao Jingxing's arms, and the figure of Guan Degu had already appeared in her mind. She didn't care about the material things she valued, and she didn't care who the man was. Money and benefits were enough. Of course, if the dog is replaced by Han Qian, she may choose to only have a bag. Han Qian and Yan Qingqing walked into the group gate side by side. Yan Qingqing walked to the executive elevator, and Han Qian walked in the opposite direction to the employee elevator. While waiting for the elevator, Yan Qingqing became more and more irritated. She took off her high heels and threw them at Han Qian, but the distance was too far. Qian looked at the high heels falling far away and smiled, turned around and strode into the elevator. Yan Qingqing pointed at the elevator and cursed. "You bastard, I curse you to never do anything in your life. If you want to cooperate, why don't you go talk to him?" When Yan Qingqing limped to pick up her shoes, the employee elevator door was opened, and Han Qian leaned against the elevator door with a smile on his face and chuckled softly. "Okay, as Mr. Yan told me, my death will be completed. Do you want me to pick up your shoes?" You are not a prince, don't put my shoes on." "That's right, after all, you are not a princess. Warm is it? What does it have to do with her if you can be crooked?" Fortunately, there were few people in the lobby on the first floor at this time. There were only a few security guards and greeters at the front desk. No one thought they were quarreling, but more of them thought they were flirting. In the end, Han Qian didn't pick up Yan Qingqing's shoes, and Yan Qingqing walked into the elevator barefoot and returned to the office on the 14th floor without wearing any shoes. When Han Qian returned to the office, there were a few more band-aids on the table. He asked curiously after sitting down, "Liang, did you buy it?" Su Liang pouted, shook his head, and pointed at Lu Zhuolong. Han Qian turned around and met Lu Zhuolong's eyes with deep jealousy. He immediately understood that it was Sister Yang who put it down. Han Qian said with a grin. That's great. Sister Yang is so considerate. I'll introduce a date to Sister Yang tomorrow. Lu Zhuolong got up angrily. At this time, Han Qian was suddenly slapped on the back of the head. Yang Lan stood behind him. At this moment, Wu Siguan answered the phone and left the general department.